welcome back to the third and final hour of the world's most lethal radio show. And just before I turn it over to James Stone and David Hawkins, I want to thank owner of this station, Joe McNeil. We really appreciate the fact that you have the courage to share your facility with those of us globally, global commoners who wish to pull the mask off the evil parties, and evil is the correct word. And if you want to do some research, in fact, let me make it easy for you. I'm going to ask Stonewall or Johnson or somebody to find Ephesians 5:11 and see what it says about what we're doing. And regardless of what David, Field, or James believe, spiritually, I can guarantee you 100% that this is a battle between good and evil, and victory has been promised in Proverbs 21:31. But David, do you have a question before he gets back to speaking?
No. Please go ahead, James.
Okay, I want to go on a little bit of a rant here about the journalism that we have in this country. It is the responsibility of a journalist to do investigations and tell people and warn people that something is going to happen. When you do this, you're going to be wrong a lot because you are going to change the future, and so you're going to be met with people calling you a kook because you said it. But you know that's lazy journalism to sit and hide in the shadows and report stuff after it happens. Any idiot can sit there and say that something blew up. But if you can't get into the root of things and find out what is going on that is causing this stuff, you're worthless. So I think that a good motto of journalism should be, I would rather be wrong because I raised awareness than right because I said nothing. And that is, we have these incredibly lazy, worthless journalists that just sit there with a news feed and just parrot what other people bring in, and don't sit down and don't look into things, and are afraid to stick their neck out, and it's just ludicrous. We're paying the price for it left and right, and I'm sick of it. The journalists out there need to actually study and find out and do their job. They need to be doing their job, and this Able Danger team is a team that's doing the job. I hate to say it, but some of the other alternative media sites are doing a pretty good job, but I think that they're compromised to a degree. But if you want someone who's not doing a job, you just look at CNN, ABC, Fox. They're not telling us anything, and they are absolutely worthless, and I'm sick of these people. I've blown them off entirely. Your job in the media is to prevent disaster and to prevent people's lives from being ruined. And look at what we got out at Fukushima. Who had their eyes closed out there? Who was it that didn't notice that the Israelis brought in 300 relief trucks? Who was it that didn't notice that the U.S. military fleet was off the coast and wondered why? Who was it that didn't notice that these earthquakes were artificial and that the USGS was lying about everything? And why was there no reports in the media that none of these, there's no damage in the earthquake? I want to know these things, basically that's all I can say is that we are plagued by absolutely lazy, worthless journalists that sit there and report disasters rather than preventing them. And it's time for this to stop. We need people to be sticking their neck out, and it's much better to be wrong because you raised awareness. Wrong because you raised awareness than right because you said nothing. Anyone can sit there and say, it's going to happen, it's going to happen, it's going to happen. If you don't open your mouth and it does happen, it's your fault. So,
James, let me allow you a chance to catch your breath. Number one, we share your frustration. We share your motivation. We share your enslavement to the truth and to responsible behavior. I'm going to put up a link to Common Sense 101, which is lessons from G.K. Chesterton. It's on page 98. But before I do that, let me tell you, and I think you do have a pretty good handle on what it is we, Able Danger, are doing, and we're a network of now 6,782 global agents, none of whom are getting paid and none of whom are shaking in our boots, because we take the battle to the equal parties, and I'm going to give you 3 recent examples. On November 8th of 2010, I sent a message to Washington, D.C., the Department of Justice, FAA, FBI, and the lackeys in the media. I told them that within the next 3 days, threat window 8 to 11, we would have a false flag aviation event. 4 hours later, the mystery missile was fired out over the Pacific, and we eclipsed that one. On January 20th, I sent another missive or message to the same boneheads in D.C. and the media slackers, and I said that on the 23rd of January, Sunday the 23rd, between noon and 18:30, that the Chicagoland area would have a TAC nuke event, which was false flag in nature. The cowards canceled that one, and they moved it over to the, I can't pronounce it, but it's the DMO airport in Moscow, where on the 24th, 12 hours after the threat window was blocked by Able Danger, there was a false flag terrorist explosion in the Moscow airport. More recently, just the last 10 days, we put out a false flag threat window in Chicago for the intentional demolition of the Sears Tower, which is now called the Willis Tower, and the connections there are enough to really make your skin crawl. But we blocked it. When I say we blocked it, yep, it's exactly what I'm saying. Is Able Danger has caused the cowards. The cowards can be called the City of London bankers. They can be called the Bilderbergers. They can be called the Clintons. Call them what you will. And this is my voice speaking alone now, Field McConnell. So if you don't like the personal nature of my attack, anybody, including the Clintons, the Bilderbergs, the Rothschilds, can come and get Field McConnell in Plum City. But in the meantime, it looks like God is having his way with these besticable morons that think they can play God and not get fingered. Well, we're doing the fingering, and we appreciate your seat at the table. So now that I'm talking fast, I'll give it back to you, James.
Okay. My goal for that article was to kill the concept of tsunami nukes so that the next time there's a tsunami, people are going to hop on it and say, why? And to kill the Stuxnet virus. I want there to be such an awareness of what's out there that the minute that there's, I want every industrial electrician out there for every problem thinking, is it Stuxnet when he goes out there? I want it to be at that level. That's the only way we're going to stop these people. We have to have people in these industrial facilities that are willing to go and run to the disconnect and pull the switch, because they got a readout on a machine that's not right because they've got the redundant display. I want it to be set up so well and so redundant that even if they do want to use this virus, it's just ineffective because the people have within their reach inexpensive systems that are set up to at least disable the gear so that it can't destroy itself. And these manual disconnects are easy. The actual electrical disconnect. I guess if you're dealing with 7200 and up, or even 2400 and up, they're all manual control. But they're all electronically controlled. But if you're dealing with the smaller disconnects that are like for the motors or for the frequency drives or things like that, there's a very huge percentage of the time a handle that you can pull and cut the thing. And that's the type of safety backup that we need now, that this threat is out there and in the ether. And it doesn't matter. I don't think that they're going to make, if they blew up Japan, I don't think they're going to make a distinction between Japan or America or Russia or Zimbabwe or anywhere. They don't care. If their virus is there and they have a reason to use it, they're going to use it, and it could be for a reason that you can't even comprehend. So just because you're making you're running a milling machine that's making whatever Barbie doll parts, and you think it's unimportant, have a disconnect on it anyway, because they could have a reason for taking that thing out. And one collision of your rotary head on your lathe or your milling machine, and you've wrecked it. Just don't. There's so many ways that you can mess up this equipment, and oh gosh. Anyway, just please have the redundant systems built in where you can see what's going on and at least cut power. So that's another rant, but I mean, it has gotten ridiculous. They have waged war on the world with this stinking thing. It can go anywhere, and it allows them access to cause mayhem anywhere, and you don't know. It just runs in the background. You don't even know it's there. I'm absolutely freaked out about this virus.
David, hang on. James, I want to tell you something, that the whole house of cards can be brought down with the illumination of a single point of light, or in another analogy, by the striking of a match. Let me demonstrate right in front of you in live and real time. If I were to announce that my sister Christine Marcy was feeding me information right now, I think we could pretty much bring down this house of cards, because names like Lena Trudeau, Lauren Harper, Miriam Clegg, Sherry Blair, Hillary Clinton, Michelle LaVaughn, J.D. Robinson, Sotero Obama, or whoever she turns out to be, these people, besides evil and unsophisticated, at the end of the day, they are quivering cowards, and I will take great pleasure in putting the fear of God, G-O-D, in their heartless souls. David, over to you.
Thanks, Phil. And James, I've been trying to send it to you, but my machine has been sending too many emails. But it's an article written by a guy called D.K. Mathai, who was the founder of this D2 banking outfit at Canary Wharf, and it's about the Fukushima. So I'll just read out the first couple of paragraphs. The article is headed Level 7, Fukushima versus Chernobyl. How do they really compare? ATCA, and that's the Asymmetric Threat Contingency Alliance, which is an outfit that was started at Canary Wharf by D.K. Mathai in 1996. ATCA was one of the first global risk management organizations to issue a red alert on March the 11th, the day of the Japan tsunami, titled Red Alert Nuclear Emergency in Japan. So this is an outfit, James, in London, on the day of, has prepared an article entitled Red Alert Nuclear Emergency in Japan. That was pre-prepared. Since then,
they didn't have an emergency until the next day.
Exactly.
Go ahead. I've got another piece of information to throw in on Fukushima. Everybody says that place blew up because those generators got swamped. Well, the World Nuclear Organization, which I've linked to on my on the main article, I don't think I have it in the links section. They specifically stated that the generators, 7 of them, never got any water at all, and the ones that did get water, if the buildings that did get water, they flooded to a maximum of 4 feet deep in their lowest depth, and that these generators were they were enough to power 14,000 homes. That means that at a bare minimum, in a society that's not using a lot of electricity, that's a 10 megawatt generator. Now, a 10 megawatt generator is not going to swamp out from having a little bit of water around it. It's too big. It's too big. The water's not going to get up to it. So even if those generators were at the lowest point in the building that took water, there's a very good chance that nothing would have happened. Well, as it turns out, one of the 13 generators at Fukushima kept running, but it couldn't provide power to the system because the switchgear would not allow it to get power to the system. Additionally, the one that kept running is the only one that was not hooked up to the Siemens SCADA controller. So now we have another connection. Furthermore, the World Nuclear Association specifically stated that TEPCO managed to drive in off the site, from off-site, emergency backup generators within 8 hours of the tsunami, all ready to hook up, but they couldn't hook them up because the switchgear was not allowing them to hook up. And they can't figure out, and they're just saying, well, the switchgear was swamped and that's why it couldn't hook up. Well, that's a crock.